Hello friends, in this video we will discuss about very important aspect which is ECG for NEET PG. For this video we have referred previous year questions related to ECG, and so we will discuss all important points and concepts which is required for you, and we will also tell you about questions which can be asked in future exams. We have divided our video in very systemic way to avoid confusion. First type is basic questions, which includes basic knowledge of waves, segments, heart rate calculation, axis determination, etc. Next is changes in common conditions. For example, changes in hypertrophies, bundle branch blocks, infarctions with knowledge of culprit vessels, etc. Third topic that we will study is special named waves or disease like delta waves, Osborn waves, and so on. Next and very important topic is knowledge of arrhythmias with treatment. We have already made dedicated videos on many topics, but not discussed treatment part. But for NEET PG, we have to know basic treatments and drug of choices. So let's start our discussion. We will describe it very quick and in simplified way. First is amplitude and duration of ECG paper. One small box is 0.1 mV in y-axis and 0.04 seconds in x-axis. Next is calculating heart rate. If rhythm is regular, formula is 1500 divided by number of small boxes between two R waves, and for irregular rhythm it is QRS complex in 30 large squares multiplied by 10. Coming to basics of all waves, first is P wave, which is due to atrial depolarization, and its normal height and width should be less than 2.5 small boxes. Tall P waves are seen in right atrial enlargement, which is called as P pulmonale. Wide P waves are seen in left atrial enlargement, which is called as P mitrale. And absent P waves are seen in atrial fibrillation and paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. Next is PR interval. It begins with start of P wave and ends at the beginning of QRS complex. Normally it is between 0.12 to 0.20 seconds. It is prolonged in AV blocks, and shortened PR interval is seen in WPW syndrome. Next is QT interval. It begins with start of QRS complex and ends at the ending of T wave. Normally it is 0.36 to 0.44 seconds. Prolonged QT interval is associated with hypokalemia, hypocalcemia, use of erythromycin, and class 1A antiarrhythmic drugs. Shortened QT interval is associated with hypercalcemia and class 1B antiarrhythmic drugs. Remember friends, calcium and QT interval has inverse relationship. Next is QRS complex. Normally it is less than 0.11 seconds. Increased QRS duration is seen in bundle branch blocks and certain ventricular arrhythmias, which we will discuss later in this video. Next important topic is to determine axis from ECG. You have to check two opposite leads, that is lead 1 and AVF. If overall amplitude of QRS complex is positive in lead 1 and negative in lead AVF, that is leaving pattern, it is left axis deviation. And if it is negative in lead V1 and positive in lead AVF, that is reaching pattern, it is right axis deviation. So in simple words, left leaves and right reaches. Now coming to our second set of discussion, that is basic changes in common conditions. First is left ventricular hypertrophy. Important criteria to remember is Sokolov criteria. It includes calculating amplitude of S wave in V1 and R wave in V5. If it is more than 3.5 mV or 35 small boxes, it is suggestive of LVH. And features suggestive of RVH includes right axis deviation. RV in V1 should be more than 0.7 mV or more than 7 small boxes, and straight pattern in V1 or V2. These findings suggest right ventricular hypertrophy. Next is right atrial enlargement. There is P pulmonale, where height of P wave should be more than 2.5 mV or more than 2.5 small boxes. And last is left atrial enlargement. There will be wide and notched P wave known as P mitrale, whose duration should be more than 120 milliseconds or 3 small boxes. Then coming to bundle branch blocks. As we already discussed, QRS complex is more than 120 milliseconds. In right bundle branch block, there is M pattern in V1 and W pattern in V6. And in left bundle branch block, there is W pattern in V1 and M pattern in V6. Next is fascicular blocks or hemiblocks. Left bundle branch has two fascicles, namely anterior and posterior. When these individual fascicles are interrupted, it is called as fascicular block or hemiblock. Then criteria for left anterior fascicular blocks or left anterior hemiblock are left axis deviation, RS pattern in lead 2, 3 and AVF, and QR pattern in lead 1 and AVL. Then criteria for left posterior fascicular block or left posterior hemiblocks are right axis deviation, RS pattern in 1 and AVL, and QR pattern in 2, 3 and AVF. Next important topic is myocardial infarction. Examiner tend to ask questions from this topic in different ways, from basic diagnosis to identify culprit vessel or treatment part. For myocardial infarction, you need to remember changes according to duration. First change is hyperacute T waves, which occurs within minutes. Next change, which occurs within 2 to 3 hours, is ST elevation with convexity upwards, which is known as Pardis sign. Next change, which occurs after 8 to 12 hours, is T wave inversions. And last is pathologic Q waves, which should be more than 1 mm deep, which occurs after 1 or 2 days. Now for diagnosing myocardial infarction, you have to know which lead represent which part of the heart and which vessel supplies that part. Lead 2, 3 and AVF represents inferior wall and is supplied by right coronary artery or left circumflex artery. Then lead V1 and V2 represent septum of the heart and is supplied by left anterior descending artery. Lead V3 and V4 represents anterior part of the heart and supplied by left anterior descending artery. Lead 1, AVL, V5 and V6 represents lateral wall and supplied by left circumflex artery. Posterior wall MI is diagnosed by placing leads on back, which is known as V7, V8 and V9, and vessel involved is right coronary artery or left circumflex artery. And last but not the least, right ventricular MI is diagnosed by placing leads V3 to V6 on right side, which is known as V3R, V4R and so on, as you can see in this diagram. If there is elevation in V1, V2, V3R and V34 along with 2, 3 and AVF, it is right ventricular MI and culprit vessel is right coronary artery. This is the summary of affected wall, leads of primary ischemic changes, reciprocal changes and culprit vessel. Next important topic is ECG changes in electrolyte imbalance. First is hypokalemia. Changes are prominent U waves, prolonged PR interval, ST depression, flat T wave and QT prolongation. Next is hyperkalemia. You have to remember changes according to values. Peaked T waves, which is earliest changes, are seen when potassium is between 5.5 to 6.5. Then absent P wave is seen when potassium is between 6.5 to 7.5. Following that, there is broadening of QRS complex and narrowing of ST segment when potassium is 7 to 8. And last is sine wave pattern. It is seen when potassium is more than 8 or 9 millimoles. Next is calcium abnormalities. Serum calcium and QT interval has inverse relationship. So, hypercalcemia will have short QT interval and hypocalcemia will have prolonged QT interval, which increases the risk of torsades de pointis. Next is magnesium. Changes in ECG due to magnesium abnormalities are like potassium changes. That is, hypermagnesemia will cause widened QRX and tall and peak T waves, and hypomagnesemia will cause prolonged PR and QT interval and ST depression and flattening or invergence of T waves. Then changes in sodium levels usually does not cause ECG changes. Now next topic is special waves or special conditions that you must know. Our topics are becoming more important as we are moving forward. First is U waves. You all might be knowing prominent U waves are present in hypokalemia. But there are some more points to remember about U waves. U waves are considered normal if it is same direction as of T waves, or voltage is less than 25% of T waves, or maximum normal amplitude should be 1 or 2 mm. It is prominent if it is more than 1 to 2 mm or more than 25% of height of T wave, and it is present in severe bradycardia and hypokalemia. Inverted U waves are considered abnormal in leads with upright T waves, and it is highly specific for coronary artery disease. Next special wave is delta wave. It is slow, slurred upstroke in QRS complex seen in WPW syndrome. Let us discuss some other points related to WPW syndrome. It is pre-excitation syndrome, occurs due to accessory atrioventricular pathway known as bundle of Kent. Patient with WPW syndrome will have palpitations, dizziness, and recurrent syncope attacks with the family history of sudden cardiac death in siblings. This history may be given in the question. Other important ECG finding is short PR interval. Then drug of choice for WPW syndrome is oral flecainide, which is class 1C antiarrhythmic drug, and treatment of choice is radiofrequency ablation of accessory pathway. Next is epsilon wave. It is small positive reflection buried at the end of QRS complex. It is caused by post-excitation of myocytes in right ventricle and it is most characteristic finding in arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia. Next is Osborn wave or J wave. A positive reflection prior to J point is termed as Osborn wave. It is also known as J wave. It is characteristically seen in patients with hypothermia, but it can be also seen in hypercalcemia, subarachnoid hemorrhage, and brain injury. Next is inverted hockey stick sign. Terminal part of QRS complex or ST segment will become scooped and resembles a hockey stick, and it is also known as Salvador Dali's mustache sign. It is sign of digoxin toxicity. One more important point to remember is sinus rhythm with frequent VPCs in a pattern of ventricular bigeminy is also a feature of digoxin toxicity. Next is S1Q3T3 pattern. It is most specific pattern for pulmonary embolism. It is characterized by deep S wave in lead V1, deep Q wave in lead 3 and inverted T waves in lead 3. The most common ECG abnormality in pulmonary embolism is sinus tachycardia. Next is electrical alternance. It is defined as alternating QRS amplitude with no additional changes to the conduction pathways of the heart. This pattern is seen in pericardial effusion and cardiac tamponade. Next is sawtooth pattern. It is also known as flutter waves, and this pattern is seen in atrial flutter. Next topic is arrhythmias. This is most important topic as far as NEET PG is concerned. They can ask question of any types from this topic. Example, diagnosis depending upon ECG or history along with ECG or particular treatment can be asked. First is bradyarrhythmias and its approach. If you get ECG with bradycardia, first look at QRS complex. If it is wide, it is third degree heart block. But if it is narrow or normal, then look at P waves. Bradyarrhythmia with absent P waves is sinus arrest. But if P waves is normal, then look at the PR interval, and that is next step of approach. If it is normal, with each P wave followed by QRS complex, it is sinus bradycardia. And if it is increased or abnormal, we are left with either two choices, that is first and second degree heart blocks, that can be easily identified. Let us quickly discuss AV blocks identification points. In first degree AV block, every P wave is followed by QRS complex, but PR interval is more than 200 milliseconds. Second degree AV block has two subtypes. In second degree type 1 heart block, which is also known as Mobitz type 1 and Winkebeck phenomena, PR interval progressively lengthens until a P wave is not conducted to ventricles, that is, until there is a drop. In second degree type 2 heart block, PR interval is constant, but P waves are intermittently blocked, that is not followed by QRS complex. And in third degree heart block, there is no association between atria and ventricles. Both depolarizes independently. So, there is no association between P waves and QRS complex. Here, PP interval and RR interval are constant. First degree AV block is usually treated with atropine given SOS. And treatment for third degree heart block is urgent temporary pacing followed by permanent pacing. Second degree type 1 heart block usually does not require pacing. Next is different types of tachyarrhythmias. It's of two types, supraventricular where QRS amplitude is normal and ventricular tachycardia where QRS amplitude is always wide. First is approach to SVT. QRS complex is narrow in SVT. Next step is to check for P waves, whether it is present or absent. If it is absent, there are two possibilities which are atrial fibrillation and paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. Rhythm is irregular in atrial fibrillation and regular in PSVT. In atrial fibrillation, fibrillatory waves are also present in between. Now what is further approach if P waves are present? We have to check whether all P waves are followed by QRS complex or not. If it is present, then it is sinus tachycardia. And if it is absent, the cause is atrial flutter. Here, classic sawtooth pattern is seen. Treatment for atrial fibrillation includes rate control agents like IV esmolol or IV verapamil, anticoagulation with oral digabatrin or rivaroxaban, then rhythm control with IV butylite, and electrocardioversion is done in unstable patient with DC shock of 200 joules. And to prevent primary atrial fibrillation episodes, oral amiodarone and catheter ablation is done. Treatment for atrial flutter is done with IV esmolol or verapamil, which are rate control agents, IV butylite for rhythm control, and if this measure fails, electrical cardioversion with 25 to 50 joules is done. Next is treatment of PSVT. In acute PSVT, first step is to do carotid massage. If it is not controlled, IV adenosine at the dose of 6 mg or 12 mg given stat. It basically increases AV nodal delay. And if patient is unstable or it is not reverted, DC shock with 120 to 200 joules is given. Next is ventricular arrhythmias, where QRS complex is always white. First is ventricular tachycardia. It has two types, monomorphic, where uniform QRS complexes are present with regular rhythm, and second is polymorphic, where QRS complexes varies beat to beat and rhythm is irregular. Torsades de pointes is a type of polymorphic ventricular tachycardia where classic morphology is seen, in which there is broad QRS complex with varying amplitude. Then its treatment. If it is pulseless VT, non-synchronized DC shock is given. In stable monomorphic VT, IV amiodarone or procainamide is used, and in polymorphic VT, including torsades de pointes, drug of choice is magnesium sulfate IV. But if torsades de pointes is present with low BP, DC shock is preferred. Next is ventricular flutter. You can observe continuous sine wave pattern. One cannot identify P waves, QRS complex and T waves. And last is ventricular fibrillation. Here, rate ranges from 150 and can go up to 500 per minute. You can observe chaotic irregular deflection of varying amplitude of QRS complexes. Here also, there is no identifiable P waves, QRS complexes and T waves. Treatment include immediate non-synchronized DC shock using 200 to 400 joules. Now friends, we have almost covered all important aspects of ECG you need to remember for NEET PG. We have summarized full session for easy revision in next 3 slides. You can pause the video and take the screenshot. So friends, this was all about this video. I hope you liked our effort. Do share it as much as possible. Keep studying, keep supporting. Thank you.